think so. Hi, everyone. My name is Ivan, and I'm really happy to be here. And today I want to tell you about IntelliJ IDEA plugins in QA automation. And I really hope that it will be useful and interesting for you. A few words about me. Again, my name is Ivan Varivoda, and I have been working in QA automation more than 4 years. And last 3 years, I have been working for Wrike, where I develop and improve our QA automation framework. And also, I like skiing and riding a motorbike. And in the bottom right corner, you can see my contacts. So feel free to ask me about this presentation. And a few words about Wrike. Wrike, this is an international company which develops SaaS solution for project management. We have 10 offices globally. 2 of them are engineering offices, and they are located in St. Petersburg and in Prague. And also we have more than 1,000 employees. More than 20,000 organizations from different countries use Wrike. Wrike helps them be more productive. And what does Wrike look like? Wrike consists of a lot of views. For example, here you can see task view. It presents information about task, for example, task title, task description, assignees, and etc., etc. Also, you can select necessary status from workflow. Also, we have workload, where you can check the workload of your colleague, or we have proofing tool, and we can review any images or videos. And we have more views like reports, timeline. And as you can see, Wrike is a big and complex application, and we have to test it carefully. So that is why we have more than 24,000 Selenium tests. 500,000 tests are run daily in our infrastructure. Our test framework has more than 1 million lines of code, and we can run all our tests in 1.5 hours. And it allows us to deploy our product every day at least once. And for test writing, we use Maven, Java, Junit 5, and as you guess, IntelliJ IDEA. As you can see, we have a lot of tests, a lot of code. And how is it possible to run our tests in 1.5 hours? It is possible because we like continuous improvements, like migration to new cool test framework like Junit 5 or another instruments. We also like making huge refactorings or integrate our test framework with another internal tools. And when I'm talking about huge refactoring, I think you understand that we can do it manually because we have a lot of tests. And we have to find effective way to solve this problem. And for huge refactorings, we use IntelliJ IDEA plugins. And right now, I want to tell you a little about plugins. So IntelliJ IDEA plugin, this is a good way to expand functionality of IntelliJ IDEA. For example, there are a lot of great plugins like Lombok, .ignore, bash support. And one of the main reasons why we chose IntelliJ for test refactoring, this is speed of refactoring. If you use IntelliJ, I think you are familiar with this picture. Here we can see how IntelliJ is scanning files to index. And have you ever thought why refactoring from IntelliJ IDEA is so fast? It's so fast because it uses indexes for any code changes. And in my opinion, it works really fast. And there is another good news that IntelliJ IDEA plugins allow us to use PSI. PSI, this is a program structure interface. This is internal mechanism of IntelliJ IDEA for code changing and refactoring. For example, when you rename your method, IntelliJ uses this interface. Let's look at this code fragment. This code is from our test framework. And for common text editor, this is just a code. But when we are talking about PSI, here plenty of PSI elements. For example, PsiAnnotation, standard Selenium extensions. Or we have here PSI fields like write client or folder. And we have PSI method, prepare method. And of course, we have PSI expression. This is line of code, which is located inside the method. For example, here, check sorting menu items execution. And PSI elements allow us to make to do some refactoring with these elements. And let's look at PSI annotation in details. Here I put common actions with PSI annotation. For example, you can create your own annotation from string in IntelliJ IDEA, or you can remove your annotation from your code or change the value inside your annotation. And frankly speaking, there are more actions, but I put here really common ones. And let's look at example when we can use IntelliJ IDEA for code refactoring. Imagine that you use Junit 4 test framework for test writing. This framework has ORG JUnit test annotation and also category annotation for test for marking up your tests with value with dot class ending. And when we are talking about Junit 5 test framework, the test annotation has different package here, or JUnit Jupyter API package. And there is another annotation for marking up your tests with string value. So if you want to migrate to Junit 5, you have to do two things. Firstly, you have to replace ORG JUnit test annotation with ORG JUnit Jupyter API test annotation. And the second one, you have to replace category with tag annotation. You can notice that first step you can do by mass replacing in IntelliJ IDEA. This is true, but here I put really simple actions. And frankly speaking, there are more rules for migration to Junit 5. This is just example. So let's look at the code. Here I put the code for migration to Junit 5. Here you can see passes to annotation from these frameworks. And in this main method, we firstly replace test annotation. After that, we replace category annotation with tag one. And after that, we remove redundant import and short reference. So let's look closer into replace category annotation with tag. This is pretty simple method where we firstly find our category annotation and extract string value from this annotation, and then we create tag annotation. And here we write down our action to our editor. And right now I want to show you demo. Wish me luck. So here you can see my IntelliJ, I hope. And here this is code. So I execute run IDEA goal from Gradle, and IDEA is starting with installed my plugin. I mean, this IDEA has my plugin, which I developed in this one. So it's opening. Yeah, it's opening. Loading my first idea plugin project. And close tips, not now. So let's look at this project. We have IDEA plugin example project, and I want to find test. Open test folder, Java, Wrike example. Yeah, example test. And here you can see that we have usual Java test with Junit 4 test framework. Here we have already Junit packages. And I have category annotation with small class. This is empty class for marking up my test. So I right click on this class and execute migrate to Junit 5 action. And after that, you can see that imports will change it. And right now we have already Junit repeater API packages for tag and test annotation. And the main thing is that we have value with string. We have string value inside my tag annotation. You can notice that these sections are too easy, but imagine that we have a lot of tests, more than 20,000. So IntelliJ IDEA plugin allows us to click one button. I need to add migrate to Junit 5 action to this panel and click to this action, and all my project will be migrated to Junit 5. So let's go back. To remind you that there are more usages for IntelliJ IDEA plugins. You can migrate to new frameworks. You can make huge refactoring or make integration with other systems in your company. Whatever you want, feel free to use this really powerful instrument for code refactoring. And here I put a few useful links. The first one is about PSI from JetBrains site. You can screen these QR codes and go to the site. And the second one, how to write plugins, is great article from JetBrains site. And here I put my GitHub with this IDEA plugin example. So you can clone this code and test it, how it works. It's really cool. And that's all from me. Thank you for your attention. Here are my contacts, and I'm ready to answer your questions. Stop share. Yeah.
Thank you, Ivan. Maybe I have one question in regards to the question we had originally, because you told that you have a really big code base and you have big QA and development team. So how is it in your team? Do QA people fix bugs?
It is possible, yes. I know a few cases.
Nice. All right, so let's go to questions. There are two for you. So I copied this one from the Q&A by Nela Yalovtsova. Are those tests part of CI, or you run some smaller subset there? Because 1.5 hours runtime seems to be quite a lot.
Yeah, of course, we have markup for tests, and usually we run maybe 8,000 tests at once. So we don't run more than 5,000 or 6,000 tests in our CI.
Mm-hmm. And there's one more for you. I will take the other two for Timothy after the last presentation. So why not test NG, asks Yasmin.
So I have a good question, because this is really good question, because there are a lot of discussion between TestNG or Junit 5, Junit 4. We like Junit 5, and we have a lot of plugins and utils which we use for Junit 5. And honestly, I'm not familiar enough with TestNG.
All right, so maybe something for you to take from this talk as well. All right, so thank you, Ivan. Thank you very much for your presentation. And now it's up to Vlad to close things up with his presentation. Floor is yours.